In a recent video, I talked about how most new AI data centers were being powered by dirty and low efficiency gas turbines, and this was a problem for both human health and the climate. Well, Google just announced a new data center that will be powered by wind, solar, and a new kind of battery that is the definition of game changing. This is how data centers should be powered. So today on Decarbonize, we're going to dive into what's happening and how it will impact not just data centers, but the entire electricity grid. But before we get into the new technology, I want to spend just a minute reviewing two terms that often get mixed up that you might remember from your high school Spanish class: power and energy. Let's start with energy. You can think of energy as the ability to do something useful. Food is packed with energy. Water behind a dam is energy. Gas in your car's tank is energy. And of course, a charged battery is energy. Energy comes in units like joules, calories, and kilowatt hours. Power is how quickly you can use that energy to do work. An internal combustion engine car with a powerful engine can quickly burn gas to accelerate the car. A sprinter that can do the 100-meter dash in under 10 seconds is powerful. A data center training AI models use a lot of power. Power comes in units like kilowatts, which is 1,000 joules per second, and horsepower. When we discuss a power plant, we discuss the power it can output, typically in megawatts. A single onshore wind turbine has a power output of about 3 megawatts when the wind is blowing. A solar panel might be around 400 watts when the sun is shining. And an AP1000 nuclear power plant has an output of around 1,100 megawatts. To calculate the energy produced in a day, you need to know how much of the time the power plant was operating. For wind and solar, the capacity factor will vary from about 20 to 40%, though it depends a lot on location, especially for wind. Because they aren't producing energy all of the time, intermittent renewables by themselves can't be counted on to deliver reliable power. For a nuclear power plant, other than a pause for a month for refueling every 18 to 24 months, it's delivering the rated power 24/7. So for nuclear power, the capacity factor is about 17/18 or 94%. Grid scale batteries are typically rated in power output and the duration which they can run at that power. So a 300 megawatt 4-hour battery can store 300 times 4 or 1,200 megawatt hours of energy. And you need to put even more energy into the battery since some is lost during the charge-discharge cycle. Thanks for sitting through the boring part, because you need to understand that for what comes next. When I was a kid, rechargeable batteries were rare and expensive. Then the Nikon batteries came out, and they were okay. Next were the nickel metal hydride batteries, which were a little better. Then along came cell phones, and they needed lots of energy, and the nickel metal hydride batteries weren't up to the job. So lots of money went into developing lithium batteries, which were lighter and held more energy than the older options. Every year, the lithium batteries for handheld devices got cheaper and stored more energy. A few years behind cell phones were EVs. The first modern electric car, the EV1 from GM, was initially powered by lead-acid batteries, but upgraded to nickel metal hydride batteries, which stored 44% more energy. Then the cars were all recalled and crushed. EVs didn't really start taking off until they moved to lithium chemistries, leveraging the work done for cell phones. And up to now, grid batteries have just leveraged the work on mobile phones and EVs and used lithium. But grid batteries don't need to be light or small. They need to be cheap. So now we get to Form Energy, which has been working on iron-air batteries since 2017. Its two main components, iron and air, are easily acquired and cheap, especially air. Like all chemical batteries, there are two states. Here, metallic iron and iron oxide, or rust. When metallic iron is exposed to air, it rusts and releases energy that can power the grid. When there's excess electricity on the grid, the operation can be reversed and rust turned back into metallic iron and oxygen. The round-trip efficiency, around 60%, isn't as good as lithium batteries, which have an efficiency of 90% or more, but they're much cheaper. If you want to get more into the technical detail, there's a great video by Just Have a Think that I link to below. Form Energy will start deploying a 300 megawatt, 100-hour iron air battery with Xcel Energy to help power a new Google data center in Minnesota in 2028. This is the largest battery system ever announced. The battery is big enough to power 250,000 American homes for 4 days. A lithium battery of this size would cost about $3.5 billion. Google is getting it for just $1 billion. And Form is just getting started. As they ramp up and improve this technology, they should be able to bring their costs down even more. This battery will work with 1.4 gigawatts of wind and 200 megawatts of solar to power Google's data center. So you could have 4 days with no wind or sun and still keep a 300 megawatt data center running at full speed. Or as long as the wind is blowing and the sun is shining 30% of the time, averaged over any 4-day period, this data center could run forever. Given that the average wind capacity factor for Minnesota is 34%, this is pretty reasonable. Lithium grid batteries typically have 1 to 4 hours of storage. That's because they're so expensive. So you only want to charge them when electricity is very cheap, when solar is peaking at midday, and discharge them when it's expensive, in the early evening just after the sun is set. And you want to do that every day. That maximizes the profit for the battery owner. But with a cheap battery like Form's, you can hold on to a charge for days or maybe a week and still make a profit. That's what's game-changing about this battery. This battery isn't just about smoothing the peaks and valleys in a given day, which lithium batteries do fine, but the days with clouds and no wind, which is known by the German word Dugenflaute. Why do we call it Dugenflaute? Because it's fun to say. Dugenflaute, Dugenflaute, Dugenflaute. Does a cost-effective battery mean that there's no need for nuclear or fossil fuels? Let's compare the cost of a well-sited solar farm paired with a 1.1 gigawatt, 100-hour iron air battery to the most recent build of an AP1000 nuclear power plant, the Vogtle 4. I'll use the Lazard levelized cost of electricity estimates for Vogtle 4 at $169 per megawatt hour and the solar PV utility average of $58 per megawatt hour. I'll assume that 2/3 of the solar power is cycled through the batteries where 40% is lost. I'll also assume the battery costs are the same per megawatt as Google is paying for their battery. I'll also assume the battery will last for 10 years, which is just a guess. With these assumptions, the solar plus battery system has a total cost of $12 billion over 10 years compared to $16 billion for nuclear. If instead of solar I used wind plus solar, you would have been able to reduce the size of the battery and still deliver reliable power, since it's windy and sunny at different times. The reality is the nuclear plant will deliver power 24/7, whether the demand is high or low, but the solar plus battery setup is dispatchable and can deliver power into the grid when it's needed, which is more valuable. Also, the solar plus wind plus battery solution is scalable. You can build it in any size you want, and while you're building it, you get some power. And then you get more and more until you're done. For the big nuclear plant, you get nothing for 10 years or more, and then you get a lot. And if something goes wrong or during refueling with the nuclear, you get nothing. But with the battery solution, it's modular, so you just lose a small amount when something goes down for maintenance or repair. With batteries this big, we can get all the energy we need from wind and solar and all the power we need from batteries. Nuclear might help, but it's not needed. Enhanced geothermal would be great, but it's not required. If I have the choice between damming a river or a big battery, solar, and wind, I'm not going to build a dam. And might even better batteries be just around the corner? Any regular watcher of Just Have a Think, and you all should be, will know lots of companies have been promising new batteries that will replace the current king of the pack, lithium. He's done 3 videos just about Form Energy. And for mobile applications, lithium remains the best option. But when Form delivers their first grid battery later this year, iron air batteries will be the king of that mountain.
All hail the king.
These batteries are good enough to resolve the weekly storage challenge, and high voltage direct current transmission can solve the seasonal storage problem by connecting regions of high summer production with regions of high winter production, like I spoke about in the first video on this channel. If you think I got something wrong, or you just want to share your thoughts, a comment is always appreciated, as is a like and subscribe. I also have some channel news. Since my last video, the channel has been monetized, which means I now get a little cut of the revenue that Google has been getting from the ads that play along with my videos. But it's not much, so I still very much appreciate when you buy me a pint, or you can watch more of my videos. And please share this video with anyone you know who gets energy and power confused.